Okay, we're going to do the cash payback data analysis problem. And so let's look at this. So we first will open up our spreadsheet, see what it looks like. This one should be similar to the net present value one. It's just a different way of making the same decision. So remember in the last one, we looked at the net present value of all of our future inflows versus our total cash outflow. This one very similar. We have different products, product lines, options. We have the cost of each option and the total cash outflow, and then we have the cash inflows each year. But instead of using the net present value of the future cash inflows, we're just looking at how long it takes to get our cash back. So the number of years to get our cash back. So we look, okay, let's question number one. Cell R2, use a nested if function to determine the number of years to pay back the cost of the investment using the data in row 2. Okay, a nested if function. This is going to be a long function. So if you can follow along, that'll be good. Otherwise, you can look at the end thing. So we're going to use a nested if function. Sadly, I don't know a better way to do this without the nested if function. But okay, so we do if. We're going to start out by saying, okay, if year one, cash is greater than or equal to our cost, okay. Then we say it's a 1-year payback, right? Otherwise, right, we want to look at the next year. So if, and you could do year 1 plus year 2. I'm going to just do the sum of year 1 and year 2 is greater than or equal to the initial cost. Then return a 2 because it's a 2-year payback. Else, if, and then we're going to do the sum of year 1 through 3 is greater than or equal to our initial cost, then it's a 3. Else, if it's year 1 through the sum of year 1 through 4 is greater than or equal to that cost, then it's a 4. Else, if it's the sum of year 1 through 5 is greater than or equal to our cost, comma, then it's a 5. Else, if it's the sum of year 1 through 6 is greater than or equal to our initial cost, comma, then it's a 6. Otherwise, if the sum of years 1 through 7 is greater than or equal to our initial cost, comma, we're going to return a 7. Otherwise, if the sum of years 1 through 8 is greater than or equal to the initial cost, we return an 8. Otherwise, if the sum of year 1 through 9 is greater than or equal to the initial cost, then we return a 9. Otherwise, if the sum of years 1 through 10 is greater than or equal to our initial cost, then return a 10. Otherwise, if the sum of years 1 through 11 greater than or equal to the initial cost, then return an 11. Otherwise, if the sum of 1 through 12 greater than or equal to our initial cost, comma, return a 12. Otherwise, I'm going to return a 9999. And then we have to close all of our parentheses. Uh-oh, I have an error somewhere. Okay, let's look through it. Let's look through our whole formula to do if the sum of this, 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 sum of this, sum of this, okay, 9. I see it. Right here, I didn't have my close parentheses after that sum statement. Oops, I have another error somewhere. Okay, let's keep looking. Oh, same thing. I was missing a close parentheses on this sum as well. Okay, let's see what else I'm missing. How much you want to bet I counted the wrong number of close parentheses at the end? You should have 12 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There we go. Whew. Okay, hopefully I gave the right answer. So those long formulas, it just takes you some time to make sure you actually got the whole formula entered correctly. That is a long nested if statement. So we got it correct, so I was able to find out how many years for the payback. I can copy that down, and there I go. I've got how many years for the payback of each piece of equipment. Okay, now let's look at the next thing. Okay, create a pivot table. How many years does it take to cover the cost of the chair's product line under its option with the shortest payback period? Okay, so we're just doing, let's create a pivot table. Let's insert pivot table. And it's just looking at the chairs product line. So I need the chairs, I need the product line, and I need the options. So product line and options, I can put those both in my rows. And then I need the years for the payback period. Okay, how many years does it take to cover the cost of the chairs product line with its option with the shortest payback period? Okay, so here's chairs. Here's chairs. And the shortest payback period is 6 years. Let's make sure that's what they're looking for. There we go. Okay. What is the amount of cash inflows in the first 2 years for the hardware product line under its option with the longest payback period? Okay, now I'm going to filter here. So product line, I'm going to just look, okay, I just want hardware product line, longest payback period. So I'm just going to get rid of everything except the hardware product line, just to make this cleaned up a little bit. Okay, and I want for the hardware product line with the longest payback period. So that means I'm really just looking at option C on this one. Okay, and what I want is, what is the amount of cash inflows in the first 2 years? So I just want the first 2 years of cash inflows for this one. There you go. And let's see. The sum of those. Okay. The hard thing about these problems is, like, what are you looking for, right? So it's like looking at this, we want, okay, the first 2 years is going to be our value, and we want to filter it by just the hardware product line and just the option with the longest payback period, right? And once you figure out what you're filtering for, you should be good. Okay, so for how many, assuming you created your initial super long nested if statement correctly. Okay, so for how many of the 23 product lines does option A have the shortest payback period among the 3 options? Wow, that is such an interesting question. Okay, so okay, so we are looking at the payback periods. We look at all of them. All of the options. Okay. This is so intriguing. So for how many? I wonder if there's a better way to organize this. What if I put the options in? Yeah, I'm going to organize it like this. Okay, so I want to say, for how many of the 23 product lines does option A have the shortest payback period among the three options. So I'm going to do it equals count ifs, right? If A has the shortest, A less than or equal to B, and A is less than or equal to C. Let's see if this works. No. I think the count ifs actually has to be and maybe that's not going to work with the count ifs. And I'll do it separately. Equals count if. You know what? I'm just going to use an if statement. Equals if A is less than or equal to B, comma 1, comma 0. Okay. This one is equals if A is less than or equal to C, 1, comma 0. There we go. And so this one tells me A less than B, and this one tells me A less than C. So if both of these are true, then I know that A is the shortest. Right? So equals the sum of these two. I'm sure you guys are going to figure out a shorter way to do this. Right? So I just want the number of 2's where it's equals count if. I feel like I'm doing the count if function wrong. The range and then the criteria equals 20. If in here, comma, equals 2. I am just really, for some reason, the count ifs are not working on here. That's very strange. Okay, let's try a different way. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's 9 2's there, so that should be my answer. I don't know why the count if function is not working. I swear I've used it before in this. Okay, honestly, I think the count ifs would be the way to do it, but the function's just not working. So, okay. So there we go. Let's look at another one. How many options cost at least $370,000 and have a payback period of 5 years? Okay. Okay. How many options? Okay, let's change the format of this. We'll look at all the options separately. We actually don't. How many options? How many options cost at least $370 and have a payback period of 4 years? 5 years. Payback of 5 years. So I'm going to put the years in here. I'm only going to look at the ones with 5 years. Okay. And I want to know what the cost at least $370. So I need to know the cost. Okay, that's pretty easy. So, and let's see. I don't need those expanded because I only have one for each. Okay. If this is greater than, we're just doing if statements today. Everything's if statements. Let's sum that up. Okay, so it gave me a total of 3. There you go. Okay, lots of if statements. I don't know why the count if was not working for me today, but we can do it with if statements, right? So we just do our if statements here. All I did was I did if, and then I looked at each one of these options and looked if it was greater than 370, and that's about it. So there we go. I hope this was helpful. Everybody have a wonderful day.